Welcome back, everyone. Well, we've talked about why Tampa Bay is such a great place to have a startup, and we've learned about a unique program in St. Pete helping businesses stay on track. And now we're going to look beyond Tampa Bay and who's helping inspire growth across the state of Florida. Ned Pope joins us now. He's the president of Florida Next, located right here in Tampa Bay. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
Your motto is inspiring a state of innovation. What does that mean?
What we try to do is inspire innovative thinking through implementing innovative programs. So we have programs in the community development space, in the economic development space. We are an organization, a 501c3, that's very hands-on with the work that we do. There are different 501c3s and nonprofits around the state that focus on projects and research, and so there's a lot of that going on. And what we try to do is be on kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. Getting our hands dirty, if you will, and really implementing these projects that can help the citizens of Florida.
Okay. And what were the thoughts behind starting in Tampa Bay for Florida Wave? You could have gone to Jacksonville, you could have gone to Miami. Why here?
Well, I believe Tampa is sort of a burgeoning market in terms of innovation and creative thought. Also, from a geographical standpoint, we're centrally located. So I can get to Tallahassee, Miami, and Jacksonville and other places around the state relatively easy, and I think that that certainly was a consideration.
We talked about the SEC making changes with the Jobs Act. How do you think that's going to affect entrepreneurs here locally?
Well, I think it's going to have a great effect because one of the things that I believe entrepreneurs have generally as a mindset is the concept that they want freedom. That's sort of the reason that someone decides to start an entrepreneurial venture, to pursue their creative idea as a real business. And so having that sort of deregulated environment, and then you combine that with a very welcoming tax code in the state of Florida, it allows them to have the freedom to be creative and to understand what's going to be involved with starting their business and see that as a huge benefit.
I was reading there was a 2012 report by the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor US. It stated that Florida is about 30% more entrepreneurial than the nation as a whole. Why do you think?
I think there are several elements that go into that. One which we already discussed in sort of an inviting environment for entrepreneurs from a regulatory standpoint. I also believe that the universities and colleges, both state and private, here in Florida, have really embraced the concept of entrepreneurialism. So that's another element that you would see. And the other thing that makes Florida unique is we have 5 top 50 major media markets, which you're well aware of in your line of work. But what that also means is those are population structures. So those are areas that are very diverse from one to the next, even if they're only separated by an hour and a half or 2 hours like in Orlando to Tampa. And I think someone with an entrepreneurial mindset would really see that as a place to test opportunities in different fairly large scale environments. And I believe that makes Florida very unique. You drive from Jacksonville to Miami, you're going to have 2 very different experiences in those marketplaces, and that's something that entrepreneurs thrive on.
That's great. So what about local groups that you work with or that you refer entrepreneurs to work with? Who are some of those? Well,
I believe that Tampa Bay has some great support organizations that are here to help startup and entrepreneurial ventures. One of the ones that we're most familiar with is where we're co-located, which is the Tampa Bay Wave First Wave Venture Center. It's in the New World Tower building downtown. So a lot of people know it as the Sykes building. And we're on the 2nd floor, and we work with Wave on a daily basis. And what they do is they help to what's called accelerate these startup companies and startup programs. And you heard from one earlier today, where they really go in and it gives them a structure to understand how to quickly build their idea or their product so that they're ready for the marketplace. We're talking about a review of their business model. We're talking about an understanding of R&D, research and development, which is critically important. And then also understanding how to structure their business so they can acquire talent that helps them grow.
Do you think there's one common mistake that you see a lot when people want to have a startup?
Absolutely. I think it's touching on that research and development side. You hear stories all the time about companies who make it 90% down the road to get to that growth stage where they're being exposed to investment opportunities and to the marketplace, and then they find out that there are 10 other entities doing exactly what they're doing or some very close version of that. So I believe that a thorough research and market understanding of their product, where it sits in the market at the very early stage, is extremely important. Entrepreneurs by nature are generally open-minded, but I think something that you see that is kind of the antithesis of that thinking is once they get going on their business venture, sometimes they get locked into a path and they sort of forget about that open-mindedness. And so if I had a piece of advice I would give to entrepreneurs pursuing these types of opportunities is to thoroughly research the market and then keep an open mind. Allow yourself to pivot in midstream. Some of the most successful businesses in our nation have had to pivot across from their initial goals and their initial mission in order to be successful.
So they're flexible.
Exactly.
So they've done research. They realize there's a need for their idea. I think a lot of entrepreneurs stop when they think, oh, I don't have the money or I don't know anyone with. Is there money out there for startups?
There is. There are capital networks in Florida that are currently being developed, and I will say that one of our goals as an organization is to try and connect the support communities in the different markets around the state so that way you sort of spread the risk and you also spread out the opportunities. And one of the goals of Florida Next as an organization is to try and educate those individuals who have lived in Florida and who have had success in business or the corporate environment, but have never really taken the time to look at investing in startups and to use the materials and some of the instruments that are out there right now on a national level to educate them on how to properly evaluate companies. So that way, access to capital is something that we don't have to worry about in Florida.
Right, and that's very important. Now, thank you for your time, your expertise, and your advice. I think that's a great insight, and we learned a lot about Florida Next in downtown Tampa.
Thank you for having me.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.